Welcome participants to today's webinar, Encouraging Safe and Healthy Active School Travel Across Metro Vancouver. This webinar is organized by Hub Cycling and its card-carrying members. Hub is a not-for-nonprofit charitable organization whose mission is to get more people cycling more often. And they accomplish this through advocacy, education, events, and research. You can find more information about Hub at bikehub.ca. I would like to thank the Coast Salish people, specifically the Squamish Nation and the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, upon whose unceded traditional territory the North Van School District resides. I value the opportunity to learn, share, and grow on this traditional territory. My name is Kulvir Mann, and I have been a resident of the North Shore for over 20 years. And I'm a parent to two amazing kids who attend Handsworth Secondary School. I was elected as a school board trustee for North Van School District in 2018, and am currently the school board chair. I worked as an active and safe routes to school facilitator for HASTE, Hub for Active School Travel on the North Shore, to promote the importance of walking and biking to school. Working with schools, I developed school travel plans and best routes to school maps by collaborating with the school administration, teachers, parents, and students in line with the new curriculum. I currently am working as a director with North Shore Safety Council of BC. I collaborate on various events and projects with partner groups, ICBC, North Van RCMP, West Van PD, staff at all three North Shore municipalities, and both North Van School District and West Van School District. I work with school PACs to help them advocate and advise on what they can do at their schools to reduce congestion and promote safe and active transportation. I do walkabouts with them to review their school layout and then work with the parents, school administration, and municipality partners to see what things each can do to make it safer around their schools. Recently, we conducted safety blitzes at 8 of our North Van School District schools. It is always a fun event that the partner groups attend and provide education and friendly reminders as to what the school zone rules are and support efforts of the school admin and PAC. Students who walk or bike to school are active and healthy, but most importantly, are ready to learn when they get to school. I see a lot of schools where the teachers have to bring the students out class by class to run around the field and do that instead of just going into teaching for the day. What is the ultimate goal that we are trying to achieve for our kids is self-confidence and independence, making connections in their neighborhood and community. Do some exploring with your kids. Meet your neighbors, have safe houses they can go to if something happens. Parents should be mapping out walk or bike routes to school with their kids. Practice this over the summer, make it fun. Take transit with your kids, get them a compass card, teach them how to use the bus. Knowing where they live, not being taken from place A to B, a sense of an awareness for them. If they build these skills while in elementary school, then they will walk, bike, take transit in high school and continue on into their adult life. I highly believe that all high school students should be either walking, biking, or taking transit to school. No parents should be driving them to school. If you need to drive because you're out of catchment or you have a child in kindergarten, grade 1, or you're a new family to the area, then drive to 5. There's always lots of parking around. But lastly, most importantly, kids are happier, which is best for their mental and physical health. Let them be out in nature and enjoy the beauty around them and not be stuck in a car. And we also need to be good role models as parents and model being active. And just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. As you listen to the presentation, please use the chat function to ask questions. We will give our speakers time at the end to answer them. As a reminder, the meeting will be recorded. Please do not record the meeting and do not share sensitive or personal information in the chat. We are so privileged to have 3 great panelists today. Alyshia Burak, School Active Travel Planner for the City of Vancouver. Faye Willick, Executive Director for Dedicated Action for School Health, BC. And Rose Gardner, Director of Bike Education for Hub Cycling. So first, we'll start with Alyshia. and then Rose. So Alyshia, over to you.
Thanks, Kulvir, and hi, everybody. My name is Alyshia Burak, and I'm a school active travel planner with the City of Vancouver. Today, I'll be introducing you to our School Streets program and sharing a little bit more about our pilot program that happened last spring and our plans for the future of the program ahead. So a school street is a car-free block next to a school that's open to walking, biking, and rolling during drop-off and pickup. During this time, no motor vehicles are permitted to enter or exit the block while the school street is happening, except in case of an emergency. However, vehicles can remain parked. So school streets have been around since the 1990s. They originated in Italy, and since then they've been introduced in cities around the world. They've been known to create safer environment around school zones. They reduce congestion and improve air quality. They tend to encourage active travel and support physical distancing needs in the time of COVID. Safety around schools is a top priority, and reducing emissions is also pivotal to meeting the City of Vancouver's Climate Emergency Action Plan goals. So we have the ambitious target that 2/3 of all trips be taken by sustainable modes and transportation in 2030, by 2030. And within this, our council directed us to create a transportation demand action plan. This plan really focuses on the encouragement and promotions aspects to supporting active travel, recognizing that infrastructure improvements are key, but coupling them with encouragement and other TDM programs can really improve the use of that new infrastructure. Implementing school streets is just one of 75 actions in our TDM action plan, but I think what's really great is that this program has been embedded in our policy. So last spring, we wanted to give school streets a try, and it's the first school streets in all of BC. We partnered with the Vancouver School Board and 3 local elementary schools to try school streets for a period of 4 weeks. During this time, one block adjacent to the school was closed to motor vehicle traffic for a period of 30 to 45 minutes. We used traffic horse barriers to close the street, and volunteers were the folks who put these barriers out and monitored the closure to ensure safety. All of the volunteer coordination and outreach was led by the schools, and the city led the community engagement, traffic management, creating signage, all of the logistics. We led volunteer training and all aspects of evaluation and monitoring. We also provided schools with a $500 mini grant to further encourage active travel. So schools use this money to do like a bike day or a celebration event. Here's an example of one of our school streets. So this is Hastings Elementary. And here you can see that Franklin Street was closed for the school street. But for families that had to drive, they could still access the school via Slocan or Penticton Street. And we were really careful when selecting the streets to close for school streets. So to minimize impacts on residents, we chose streets without driveways and where residents had alternative access points to their homes. So in many cities, exceptions are made for residents on the block of the school street. However, because these homes on Franklin had access via a back alley, we were able to do a full motor vehicle closure on the street. And this made the space more comfortable for kids. Where necessary, we designated drop-off areas for parents or students with disabilities or accessibility concerns in advance of the pilot. During the program, we received no feedback from folks with accessibility concerns specifically. Here's an example, or a visual to show you what we use to close the street. So in the top left corner, you can see that we use our typical traffic barriers. One of the barriers had a road closed sign affixed to it, and this was the regulatory sign required for the closure. And then we also included a school street sign to show that the program was taking place. We put up vinyl banners in front of the schools on the fence a couple of weeks beforehand to notify folks that this was happening, as well as numerous kind of information signs you can see on the right there, put at pedestrian height for folks walking in the neighborhood. I thought it might be helpful to share a sample timeline for implementing a school street and some of the pieces that go into it. So this is actually my timeline that I'm using for this spring. So you can see that way back in the fall is when I defined the street closure method. So how are you actually enforcing the closure? Are there permits required? Kind of figuring those pieces out first. And then in January and February, the shift focused to school selection. So for this year, we actually did an expression of interest form for schools that clearly laid out what their roles and responsibilities would be alongside the cities. And schools also assemble a school streets committee. So this typically includes a principal or vice principal, as well as a volunteer coordinator who tends to be a parent at the school, and often other members of the PAC executive or parents who want to support the program. In March and April, the focus shifts to community engagement and notification, traffic management plans, working on signage. And then through April and May, we're really focusing on outreaching for volunteers, coordinating those volunteers and training them, as well as all of the logistics that go into this, dropping off barriers and signs on site. In May, the School Streets pilot launches, and then in June and July, we focus on monitoring and reporting. I would really recommend for anyone thinking about trying school streets for the first time that you give yourself at least 6 months. In this case, for this spring, our schools were confirmed 4 months prior to launch, and this seems to be about enough time considering it's our second time around. In terms of the cost, so we estimate that it costed about $6,000 per school to run this for our pilot year, as well as one full-time staff member at 70% of the time. Some of the notable expenses or larger expenses include signage and equipment. So this is all of the signage created. Equipment can include banners, sandwich boards, cables, locks, sandbags, as well as the staff time for our traffic operations crews to actually go and install or deliver those items. And the second large expense was traffic counts. So we did 1 day traffic counts before and during the program. And these were done by traffic assistants who monitored the 4 streets surrounding the school. So we actually had quite a few people out there monitoring impact, and that was a costly expense. And then you can see some of the other expenses below. In terms of evaluating the impact, we did this in 3 main ways. We had parent and staff surveys that were sent out by school administrators the final week of the program. We also conducted traffic counts, and then residents were invited to provide feedback via an email address or phone number. And I'll just note that we received about 40 responses when we launched this at 3 schools, 20 or so in favor of the program, 20 with some concerns. So that's, I think, a reasonable number and tells us that we did a pretty good job of notifying people in advance. So what did we see? Well, we were happy to see that the school street did in fact encourage active travel. So 1 in 3 families reported walking more, 1 in 4 families reported cycling more, and 1 in 5 families reported driving to 5 more often. We also saw a decrease in parents reporting driving to school. And we saw over 200 families give walking, biking, or rolling a try for the first time, which is really exciting because this program seemed to give them the extra nudge to give that a try. We asked parents about their support for the program, and they said that their support was stronger after actually witnessing what it was, which is maybe not too surprising given that this was a relatively new concept to a lot of families. Actually, 76% of families said that they wanted the program to continue at their school, so really strong support from families. And then we noticed a reduction in vehicles on all streets surrounding the school in those traffic counts that we did. So sometimes people worry that by closing one block, you're just moving the traffic problem to other streets, but we really did see traffic evaporate when doing our school streets. I'll share with you now a short video that we put together demonstrating the pilot.
A school street is a car-free block open to walking, cycling, and rolling beside a school during pickup and drop-off times. In Vancouver, this was for a period of 30 to 45 minutes in the morning or afternoon. We were really excited to partner with 3 local elementary schools in order to pilot school streets and see if they could help to improve safety, reduce carbon pollution, and encourage healthier and active transportation.
What this street looked like was just a parade of cars and parents dropping off. And it did create a lot of anxiety amongst parents, safety concerns, and kids walking through cars that were stopped. And of course, kids are small, so they really have a low profile. A lot of parents were concerned.
Every day around 8:40, they close the street so kids can walk past the street or bike to go to school.
Well, in the morning, you usually have kids around here. They are drawing, they are playing. This morning we had bike day. And afternoon, usually you can see parents that are standing all around the street because now they have space.
Yeah, like it's been amazing since you can do anything on the street.
And I think more people have bikes because we're allowed to bike around on the streets.
You can bike on the road and you don't even have to be careful for cars anymore.
Well, the main reason would be safety for the children and the parents are commuting to and from school. But an alternative reason that it's good for the environment when we reduce traffic around the school. And I think an added benefit that some people don't know about is that I've been getting reports that children are actually waking up earlier and leaving their house earlier just so they can get to school and experience the street, which makes them, of course, be at school on time.
We have noticed we've noticed there have been fewer cars, compared with the number we had normally on Comox. We know the weather is good, but definitely we've seen fewer cars.
I think the project has been very successful and very positive, and if we had a choice, I would like to see it continue at our school and other schools.
Yeah, we are hoping you will come back next year.
Yes, I would like to see more of this, more often, and faster.
We would love school streets to continue. It's changed how it feels to pick up and drop off kids. It feels smoother, safer, less frustrating. We love it.
I want it to continue because I don't have to worry about the cars and I get to draw chalk on this road.
So hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense and a feel for what the school streets were like. And I'll just end today by sharing what our plans for school streets for 2022 are. So since September, one of our pilot schools, Lord Roberts Elementary, has actually been running their school street every day for the whole school year. The school has an incredible, some incredible champions and a lot of momentum. They're really motivated to see this program continue, and I think they're motivated by the sense of safety that it's created at their school, so that's really inspiring. In addition, 4 schools will be launching this May for another month. One of them is a returning school and 3 of them are new schools. And after some deliberation around what's the best way to close the street, we've decided to continue with the volunteer run model for this year, just based on the tools available to us in the city. Some new things that we're bringing forward this year. One thing is that we've assembled a school streets working group. So I meet monthly with all of the participating schools, and this has been a really good way for me to share information out, but also to foster collaboration between the schools. We're also collaborating with the Society for Children and Youth, who will be delivering play streets on some of our school streets one afternoon a week at each school. So that's going to be a really fun activation. And then we've been really intentional about linking this and overlapping it with other active travel encouragement programs. So the final week of our school streets coincides with Bike to School Week this year. And the city's also funded active travel education by hub cycling at the participating schools. Lastly, you might have noticed from the pilot that we didn't capture student feedback. So this year we'll be doing some pop-up engagements on site to get feedback from students about what they think about the program. And I have some additional resources that Kathy will share out with everyone who's on the call today. These were things that were really helpful for me when putting together this program plan. And so I hope that they'll be useful to anybody who's considering running a school street in your community. And with that, I'll leave my email address up. Please feel free to reach out anytime with questions. And I'll pass it off to Faye at Dash for the next presentation.
Faye, you're muted.
Sorry, I was just trying to find my controls.
Great, we can hear you now.
Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm Faye, Executive Director with DASH, Dedicated Action for School Health. And we piloted the Kid Commute, a walking school bus. And this was a partnership with the City of Vancouver, North Vancouver School District, TransLink, and us. So it was a pilot. And so we had lots of learnings from with our year. So a walking school bus is an organized group of students who walk to and from school together with the support of one or more adults. And in this picture, you see that we have an adult in the front and an adult in the back and a group of students in between. The groups ranged in size from 4 or 5 students to as many as 10 or 11 at a time. The 3 models that we piloted were the leader model, the leader trainer model, and the volunteer model. We did not pilot the Drive to 5. We didn't have a school that was set up to do that. So the leader model was where we paid a leader to walk the students to and from school every day. And they received training from DASH plus first aid. All of our leaders and volunteers had a criminal record check. The leader walked at the same school the entire year, and the schools, we were able to get them started by November, and they're going to the end of June. They walked the same route every day, and the leaders taught the students and the volunteers about pedestrian safety. The second model was a leader trainer model, where the leader again was paid. They received training from DASH. The difference was they led the group for 8 to 10 consecutive weeks at the school, and then they moved on to another school. The leader taught the students and the volunteers pedestrian safety as well. And the goal of this one was to move from a leader model to a volunteer model, or for the students to walk independently. The goal of walking independently was not really a realistic goal, because most of our students were K to grade 3, and the parents and us felt that that was not a safe age to have them walk on their own. So that model we realized was probably not going to happen. We did have one school that shifted from the leader trainer model to a volunteer model. That just happened in the last month or so. The volunteer model is strictly that, it's a volunteer. So again, the volunteers receive training, but this was totally run by parents, mostly parents and community members. And the volunteers walk the students to and from school every day. What made this successful was that in both cases, the parents were already walking to and from school with their child. So then they just added more children along the way. The other thing that made it successful is there was a large volunteer pool. So we piloted 2 leader models, one in North Van and one in Vancouver. We piloted 2 volunteer models, one in North Van and one in Vancouver. And then we piloted 4 leader trainer models. The last one just started this week, and they're all have had pretty varying success throughout the year. The benefits for the students was the physical activity, and it got, when they arrived at the school, they were better prepared to learn as learners. It got them outside, which improves their mental health and really important during this time of COVID. They were being active again, which improves their mental health. Plus, again, with COVID, there were a number of students that weren't connected with other people, and this gave them a sense of belonging with different people along the route. And they also got a better understanding of the local area. So these are all benefits that are really within DASH's mandate. And so that was one of the reasons we were involved. The environmental and safety benefits is it reduces traffic around the schools, reduces collision and injury, reduces the vehicle emissions, improves air quality. And the other thing is that we hope that they will become better pedestrians because they will receive training about how to be better pedestrians. Some of the stats, so it started, these are stats as of March 31st. So as I said earlier, 2 schools were leader model, 2 were volunteer, and 3 are already going, and the 4th one was just added. We calculate that about 4,230 kilometers were walked. About 62 families participated in the pilot, and about 37 of those families are using their cars less or not using their cars at all. We are just in the process of, or we'll be gathering more data at the end of the year. So this is just where we are currently, and we'll be getting more feedback from the parents and the students about the other impacts, about how they felt, what kind of things changed at the school. I did talk to one principal, this is just a little idea of what could happen. And he said what the kid commute has done is it gave they had a situation where students were late for school. And this got the students to school on time. And so that was one benefit that we weren't even thinking about when this program was set up. Sorry, I'm just having a little technical problem here. Alyshia talked a little bit about the cost of the school streets. Because this is a pilot, we're still working out the details for sure about what it would cost, but it would cost between $10,000 for a volunteer model, and for a leader model for the full year, you're looking more at about $30,000 because we have to pay that leader to walk to and from the school every day for all 200 school days of the year. If you want more information, you can, it's best if you get a hold of Tina, my admin assistant, at info@dash.bc, and there's the phone number. I'll put it in the chat room if you have more, if you want to get more information. But it's been a great pilot. It's been a lot of work. We've done a lot of learning about how to best get volunteers involved, how to register the students, and make sure that we have everything in place for the system for the project to operate. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, please ask at the end, and I'll pass it over to Rose, Hub Cycling.
Thank you, Faye. Just set myself up here. Hello, everyone. I'm Rose, the Director of Bike Education at Hub Cycling. And today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the active travel programs that we run in schools throughout Metro Vancouver and select other BC regions. I'll talk about our Bike to School courses, our Everyone Rides Grade 4 or 5 program, and Bike to School Week. And then I'll wrap up with some of the impacts and outcomes we've observed from these programs. I'll also share my contact information at the end for follow-up. So as Kulvir mentioned, Hub Cycling is Metro Vancouver's cycling education, event, and action non-for-profit organization. And for over 22 years, we've been working towards removing barriers to cycling. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, shifting more people to cycling for transportation has important environmental, health, affordability, and safety benefits, as well as those improved educational outcomes that Faye talked about for students. Our programs provide children with the skills, confidence, and opportunity to learn to ride a bike to and from school or in their local community. And our vision is to have every child in Metro Vancouver have this opportunity to learn the skills and practice cycling in their local area. So this complements almost all levels of government goals to increase active transportation use. And so we work with various municipal, regional, and provincial governments to provide funding for cycling education in schools and the wider public. I'll also talk a little bit about our complementary initiative, Everyone Rides Grade 4-5, to provide universal cycling education to all BC youth. So how are we doing so far? For more than 10 years, Hub Cycling has been advocating for and delivering cycling education for transportation courses in schools throughout Metro Vancouver. And since 2014, we've instructed over 52,000 students in school-based courses. And last year alone, in 2021, we had over 9,000 Metro Vancouver students participating, which represents about 42% of the way towards our target to reach all schools. So we offer an option of 2 courses, Learn to Ride and Ride the Road. They both occur during school hours on the school grounds or the neighboring roads, and are generally fully funded by municipalities or regional and provincial governments. And our model is designed to have universal participation in 2 grades, visiting a school every 2 years to reach a new cohort of students. And currently, New Westminster, Richmond, Pitt Meadows, City of North Vancouver, City of Vancouver, Coquitlam, and Port Moody are funding programs in all public elementary or middle schools. Many other municipalities in Metro Vancouver are also funding a smaller portion of schools. And I'm really excited to announce that in 2022, we're on track to visit an additional 170 schools throughout Metro Vancouver, with an average of 100 students participating per school. So in terms of participation, this is the biggest cycling education program in Canada. And let's look at our courses in a little bit more detail. So Learn to Ride is for grade 4 and 5s, and we typically teach to 4 classes per school. But as our goal is to deliver to all grade 4 and 5s when we visit, we're flexible depending on the school size. It's comprised of 2 units over 2 days. There's a 1-hour theory lesson and then approximately 90 minutes on bikes, and occurs all on the school grounds. Includes skill building stations and simulated traffic scenarios. We bring bikes and helmets, including adaptive bikes, to allow for 100% participation, and the entire course is led by certified and trained Hub instructors. We also have a short online survey for participating staff, who are rewarded with a free Hub membership if they complete it. Since 2020, we also have a provincial program, Everyone Rides grade 4-5, that funds some Learn to Ride courses in Metro Vancouver, along with setting up and overseeing delivery partners in other locations throughout British Columbia, who then provide Learn to Ride courses in their local schools. So this program's long-term goal is to provide cycling education to all British Columbia elementary students in grades 4 or 5. The program was piloted in 2020 and expanded over the past 2 years, and so far has provided Learn to Ride courses to over 9,000 grade 4 and 5 students throughout British Columbia. We're currently operating in 4 locations, Metro Vancouver, as well as Victoria area, Kelowna area, and the Kootenays, and have plans to expand into 1 more regional center in spring of 2023. As well as provide courses to more rural and remote schools throughout the province. Everyone Rides also offers an interactive online course called Learn to Ride Online. You can see a little screenshot on the right that is currently available to any British Columbia youth or class. So in addition to these courses for grade 4 and 5 students, we also offer a longer, more comprehensive course for grade 6 and 7s called Ride the Road. This course is typically offered over 4 or 5 days with 1-hour units per class each day. It includes a mix of safety theory, hands-on basic bike mechanics, cycling skill development, and culminates in a pre-planned neighborhood road ride. Its goal is for all participants in the course, including those new to biking, to increase their cycling skills, knowledge, and confidence. And as with Learn to Ride, we provide bikes and helmets for those that don't have them or can't bring them to school, and it's led by our certified and trained instructors. In addition to staff surveys, we also collect feedback from students before and after they participate in the course. And in select locations, we also survey students parents of the students who participated. So now I'll share a little bit about the impacts that these courses are having. So on this slide, you can see some of the outcomes we collected from 2021 programs, but every year since 2014, we've received very positive feedback from school staff involved, as well as the students participating. So for example, last year, 40% of the school staff responding observed more students biking to school after participating in a bike to school course. And overwhelmingly, the school staff report a willingness to participate in future bike ed programs, such as Bike to School Week or other courses. The students who participate in the longer Ride the Road course also report increases in cycling knowledge, confidence, and understanding of concepts such as right of way. They also report small increases in sense of safety and confidence during trips to and from school. And participating in the program also increases their likelihood of wearing a helmet. But lastly, we're very excited to see that it actually increases the amount of bike riding they do after participating in the course. So last year, students biked on average about 1.7 days a week before the course, and they report the intent to bike about 2.3 days a week after the course. So that's about a 37% increase in riding, which is actually slightly lower than what we found in past years in 2019 and before. And so we're very proud, though, that year after year, between 1/3 and 1/2 of participating grade 6 and 7 students say they will ride their bike on the road more after participating in one of our Ride the Road courses. And we've also undertaken those extra evaluations of programs in Vancouver and Surrey to gather data on family travel habits, the parent perceptions, and their associated impact from the courses. In 2019, we surveyed the parents of Vancouver students who participated in the Ride the Road active travel course. And over 1/3 of them said that knowing their child had participated in this program, they will encourage them to cycle to school more often. And another 1/3 said they might. As well, almost 40% of parents agreed or strongly agreed that because their child was involved in this program, it's encouraged them to increase their own cycling. So that's a really lovely ripple effect that we see from these courses. In 2018 and 2019, we worked with SFU Public Health student and faculty to evaluate the effectiveness of the City of Surrey's school cycling program. And that research compared students who previously participated in a cycling education with other students who had not yet participated. And they found some increases in students using a bicycle for transportation at least 4 days a week. They found overwhelming parental support for the programs taking place in schools. However, you can see only 9% of the parents agreed that their neighborhood is safe for children to bike to and from school. So this really reinforces that need for safe infrastructure, safe streets, and so excited to see programs like School Streets to accompany the education and promotion for maximum impact. So in addition to the school-based courses, we also run a complimentary event called Bike to School Week, which is taking place next month. This annual celebration encourages students of all ages to bike, roll, or walk to school. Registered schools receive promotional and tracking posters, swag, and they're eligible to win prizes. And it runs concurrent with Go by Bike Week, which is for adults and high schools. So school staff teams or any workplaces, as well as individuals, can register for both Bike to School Week and Go by Bike Week on the bikehub.ca website. And once again, schools that have participated in Bike to School Week overwhelmingly report that more students bike to school than do regularly. So we see a nice boost during the week, as well as they notice it really reinforces that positive active travel culture within the school community, which was especially important during COVID when not many other events were happening. The students also, or the participating schools also report increased awareness and improved cycling skills among the students, and more staff also biking to work during Bike to School Week. So as you can expect, there's lots more information on all these programs on our website, as well as a way for schools or teachers to submit interest in courses and be notified when funding is available. We have pretty much wrapped up our bookings for this spring, but in the next couple of months, we will be booking in schools for our fall season, which is September and October. So please visit our website if your school or is interested in hosting a Bike to School course. Alternatively, you can email us at schools@bikehub.ca. And if you have any questions about how you can bring these courses to schools in your municipality or your district, please reach out to me directly, or any questions about more details about the courses themselves. We also appreciate any school district support in promoting the program availability and outreach to eligible schools. And so you can see every year we continue to reach more youth and are looking forward to meeting that vision of having all students increase their active travel through the skills, knowledge, and confidence gained in our Bike to School courses and associated programs. Thank you. I'll pass it back to you, Kulvir.
Thank you for all three of you sharing your amazing presentations. There's certainly lots of lessons there for policymakers and cycling advocates on this call to carry forward in their quest to get more kids and parents to consider active travel to and from school. So I'm going to be, so we'll do our Q&A now. And there was a couple of questions in the chat. Some have been answered, but I will just quickly go through some of the ones that did not get answered yet. So first one is for Alyshia. Is this program going to be expanded in more schools in the Lower Mainland? And they think that would be amazing if it would going out to more.
Yeah, well, I can only really speak on the behalf of the City of Vancouver. We are really excited to see this school expand to more schools in our city this year, and are really curious to see how the second year goes. I think if it's, as well received as it was in the pilot, our intention would be to bring it to more schools in the City of Vancouver. And I can say that I know that a lot of cities have been connecting with me to learn more about it. It's still relatively new. The first school street in Canada launched in Toronto in 2019. So I think we will see more of this program rolling out in other cities across Metro Vancouver.
Great. Thank you, Alyshia. The next question, I will address it to Faye. San says that she grew up in the Netherlands and is surprised by how many people drive their kids. What is the main reason people don't let their kids take public transportation or bike walk more? Is it safety concerns?
Some safety, but some of it is location. So transit may not be available, or it's convenience. In a hurry, I have to get my child to school and then go on to work. Those are a couple of the reasons why people are driving. Weather definitely has an impact. People will drive when the weather is bad. The good thing with the kid commute is we did have groups that walked rain, sleet, or snow, which is good. So those are the reasons that I can see.
Great, thanks, Faye. Okay, and for Rose, do the students also receive theory lessons San says that she used to do exercises in a book with different traffic scenarios in the Netherlands, and kind of like for a driving license theory class, and then have a biking exam where we would bike a predefined route where they put up traffic signs about which they learned in the theory class. And that was at age 10, 11. So do you also include that in the classes that in the programs that you do at the schools?
So both of our lessons, or both of our courses, do include a theory component. Our shorter introductory Learn to Ride program has a 1-hour theory unit in the classroom where students learn about how to check their bike to make sure it's safe to operate, how to fit their helmet, some very basic, navigating what's a stop sign and how do they remain courteous when they're sharing pathways and other spaces with other road users. So it's a pretty introductory theory lesson. However, our Ride the Road course has a lot more of that sort of traffic scenarios. We actually have an entire unit that is all about rules of the road, because as these students are not yet at driving age. They haven't necessarily learned those in other places. So we go through a pretty comprehensive series of different scenarios. And unfortunately, it doesn't include any exam where they need to verify their knowledge or have like one-on-one assessment, but they all do participate in a road ride in very small groups. So it's 6 students to 1 instructor on that road ride that includes stops along the ways to talk about, oh, next time when you go through an intersection, try doing it this way, or sort of some feedback to individual students and learning along the way. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great, thank you, Rose. Okay, the next question I have is for Alyshia. How does the school that runs school streets every day manage it in the winter, especially with snow removal? In addition, how was resident feedback in terms of closing off their street to vehicular traffic? For instance, a neighborhood resident lives along the closed school street, and if they need to drive to work in the morning, how was that managed?
Well, luckily we don't have to deal with much snow here in Vancouver. So snow removal hasn't been a huge barrier for us, but I will say that the school has had to navigate garbage removal. The school's garbage bins are located on the school street, so we've had to work with the school board and their contractor to try and make sure that those vehicles weren't needing to access the street. Our advice was that garbage vehicles should not be picking up garbage during drop off and pickup anyway, as they pose, more of a danger to students. In terms of residents, so great question. I mean, all of the residents on the block that were impacted were given a notification letter about a month before the closure. And these are only 30 to 45 minute closures. So we really encourage people to try and plan ahead. If you know that you're going to have to leave for work during that time, try to park on a different block. These folks all had access to their houses via back alley, so encouraging them to use the alternative access point if they knew that they needed to leave. And of course, occasionally you might have a visitor parking there who's unaware of what's happening, who gets to their car in the morning and realizes they're trapped on the street. And our volunteers are, trained to have a courteous conversation with somebody, ask, is it possible for them to wait until the end of the closure? If it's not, we want to avoid conflict. We don't want to make people's lives difficult. So we would allow that vehicle to leave by asking them to drive at a pace of 5 kilometers an hour and walking that vehicle out safely. So rarely it does come up that vehicles need to exit the closure, but we try and do our best, through engagement in advance to avoid those situations.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alyshia. Okay, so this is for all 3 of you. What was the biggest obstacle policy-wise to getting these programs enacted in the communities that you're working in? So I will let Faye go first, and then Rose, and then Alyshia.
Being such a new program, I had not really thought about the policy aspect of it. So I'll pass it on to Alyshia and think about it for a little bit here.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead, Alyshia.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think one of the obstacles that we faced, even as a municipality, is that a school street closure is quite a unique type of closure. It is a daily closure that happens for a very short period of time. And so our, the permits that we have available in the City of Vancouver don't really capture that type of street closure. So it's been difficult for us to navigate. We've kind of realized there's a bit of a gap in our permitting. We have street closures for a neighborhood block party or for special events like the marathon, but we're kind of missing this in between. And if we want to work towards our road space reallocation goals, to make streets, spaces on street for people, then we need to kind of address this so that it's easier for us to implement school streets, but also for, schools to lead these programs themselves. So that's something that we've kind of identified and are going to be slowly chipping away at in the background to hopefully make this process easier in the future.
Great, thank you, Alyshia. Rose, did you want to add anything?
I have to say we haven't encountered too many policy barriers. I mean, the biggest issue for us is just a consistent funding for these programs. As you know, even in Metro Vancouver, there's many different municipalities, and there's not always consistency even among the same school districts that are comprised of different municipalities. And so that's probably been one of the barriers. But to be fair, our program's been running a lot longer, and I'm sure there were some initial barriers when we started up 10 years ago, but we've adapted. I think the pandemic and the associated restrictions on visitors to schools was some of the biggest challenges, but we've managed to overcome that with a variety of delivery adaptations, our online courses, and now things are settling in. So
great. And Faye, did you want to add something, or no pressure?
No, it was a little different because parents are getting their kids to school anyway, and so it was just a different way of having their children go to school. So not really any barriers that way. Maybe the barrier is that we could only choose one route, and there were parents that would like to come from different routes. So that would be a challenge and something to look forward to or address next year.
Right. Okay. And I don't know which one of you wants to answer this one, but is there funding available to help upgrade bike storage facilities at schools? So for the bike to school week, like more kids ride during those weeks. And so then there's always an issue of where to put the bikes. And I've seen a lot of schools that they use their fences or they put them in the gym, or they have parent volunteers watch the bikes while kids are inside the school. So if there was anything that you could provide, if there's, parents or schools or admin can apply for grants to get funding for bike storage, if you knew any of that.
I can just mention that there is a pilot program. I think Laura might actually be on this webinar, who runs the BC Active School Travel Pilot Granting Program. I'm just going to drop the link in for schools throughout British Columbia to apply. I'm not sure where they're at in terms of the applications for this round or this year, but there is some funding there for a select number of schools to implement active travel initiatives, including, I believe, bike storage facilities. But otherwise, yeah, John is one of the schools participating this year, can speak more to it, or maybe Laura, if she would like to answer in the chat.
Sure.
And I can also just jump in. I would encourage people to reach out to your school district directly and their sustainability department. Anything that's related to infrastructure on the school grounds falls under their jurisdiction. So sometimes at the city, we get questions about like, okay, we want another bike rack, but really that's ultimately up to the school district. And so I know in the City of Vancouver, for example, the sustainability team is happy to work with schools when figuring out, what type of rack to get and where should it be placed. They've actually developed a guide on best practices for putting in bike racks, and they're also exploring scooter racks, because I think more and more kids are taking scooters to school, and it's like, where do we put these things in the day? So that's an area that they're exploring, like what's the best way to store scooters in the future. So I'm not sure, Veronica, where your school is located, but I would encourage you to reach out to your school district.
Yes, I would echo that sentiment, to contact the facilities team at your school district and follow up. Maybe the principal and the PAC chair could coordinate that together and work with the facilities team of placement and funding for that. Sometimes PACs are able to raise some funds, but then there's some, the school district can also pitch in and support that going forward. So I don't see any more questions here, unless somebody wants to quickly put in here. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining today, and just great presentations by Rose, Faye, and Alyshia. I really appreciated your insight into 3 different ways to promote active transportation. And so before we finish here, Hub would like to extend a big thank you again to all 3 of you, Alyshia, Faye, and Rose. Hub's Bike to School Week is coming up May 30th to June the 3rd, as Rose mentioned. So please register your school or encourage your child's school to sign up on the Hub website. And if you'd like more ways to get involved in Hub, you enjoyed today's webinar, you can now join as a lifetime member for only a minimum contribution of $10. The more members Hub has, the greater their impact when we advocate for better and safer biking. You can also check out Hub's many cycling education courses and events, both online and in person. So visit www.bikehub.ca for more information. And now we're at the end of our webinar. Our facilitators will leave the meeting open for a few minutes longer for those that want to leave comments in the chat. And thank you again to our panelists. You may leave the meeting now if you wish, participants. Thank you for participating, and you may also log off or leave some comments in the chat, and we will try to answer those in the next couple of minutes. Thank you everyone for joining, really appreciate it.